Students, hello and welcome. Today we will try and learn the use of social sciences qualitative research methods in nutrition research. Of late, the qualitative research methods are being intensively used in medical sciences, nutrition sciences and many other scientific fields. And in this lecture what I'll try and cover is what are the qualitative research methods that are usually being used and how qualitative research methods differ from the quantitative research methods, and when to use qualitative research methods, and most importantly how to analyze the qualitative research that you have done. The objectives of my lecture today are to introduce you to the qualitative research methods and how they are different from the quantitative research methods. At the end of the lecture you will know some of the qualitative research methods, how they are used, when they are used, and how the qualitative data that you generate needs to be analyzed. What is the qualitative research and why it should be used and how it should be used? It is a form of scientific inquiry that spans different disciplines, fields and subject matter and comprises many varied approaches. For instance, qualitative research methods can be used to understand complex social processes to capture essential aspects of a phenomenon from the perspective of study participants, to uncover beliefs, values and motivations that underlie individual health behaviors. Let us try and understand the differences between the qualitative research and quantitative research. Qualitative research can be distinguished from quantitative research in many ways. Often in epidemiological research or questionnaire based research that we usually conduct, the yes or no questionnaire or the multiple choice questionnaire that we usually use, there is a likelihood of participants reporting ideal behavior. For instance, you ask them whether they are eating green leafy vegetables every day. If for an yes or no answer, most people would like to answer yes. They wouldn't like to answer no. But in a quantitative research, in the research that gives an opportunity to answer only in yes or no, or say in Likert scale, most likely, less likely, or often and not, or sometimes, people only have those options. The qualitative research in such cases can help cross-check or triangulate these and often can give us more insights into the actual behavior that are actually being reported by the subjects. While quantitative research counts occurrences, it counts occurrences, the number of occurrences, percentages, it gives you the results in numbers. The qualitative research describes the complexity, the breadth and why particular phenomenon is existing, what is causing those things. Quantitative research seeks to statistically test hypotheses. Qualitative research seeks to generate hypotheses sometimes. That is the difference. If one actually tests the hypothesis, the other one is the qualitative research is likely to create a new hypothesis in itself. Quantitative research is performed in randomized or non-randomized experimental and natural settings, and it generates empirical data through standardized process and instruments with predetermined response categories or closed-ended questions. That's what I was telling you, yes or no, or likely, most likely, less likely, or agree, disagree, somewhat agree. So these are the only options available for the respondents to give. Whereas qualitative research occurs usually in natural settings. You go and talk to a person in his or her own natural setting, and the text-based data through open-ended responses. The responses are usually open-ended. You invite their views, you let them talk, you let them discuss, and sometimes you do observe. They often differ in terms of sampling techniques also. The goal of sampling in qualitative research is to select people who will be helpful in answering the research questions. In the quantitative research, there is no intention of generalizing findings to the population. Qualitative sampling strategies are not probabilistic and are often referred to as purposeful or purposive. Sampling groups or individuals to be included in the study are identified by the researcher because they are likely to provide the most relevant information. For instance, if I want to discuss with somebody, I would actually choose a person who's actually using a program and then who's able to talk and tell and give views and then give more insights into the known information. But quantitative research methods do not usually go in for such kind of sampling. There is a purpose with which qualitative research sample is usually selected. Qualitative research can also use maximum variation sampling, convenience sampling or snowballing. Maximum variation sampling is nothing but selecting cases that provide a range of characteristics, for example by age or by sex or some kind of commonality. Convenience sampling is recruiting the most readily available sample, whoever is available you recruit. Or snowballing sampling, wherein each person is identified for a study through a different person who is already part of the study. Now let us know when to use qualitative methods. Qualitative methods should be considered when the research aim is at least one of the following: either to investigate complex phenomena that are difficult to be measured quantitatively, that is, if something cannot be put in percentages, something cannot be explained why these percentages or numbers do exist, then qualitative research should be resorted to. Otherwise, to generate data necessary for comprehensive understanding of a problem. For instance, through quantitative research you may get prevalence numbers. A particular nutrition deficiency disorders could be prevalent in certain number of people. But to know why these are prevalent, sometimes you may resort to the qualitative research methods, wherein you would inquire what are the problems if they are not consuming iron-rich foods, are they available or not available? If they are not taking iron supplements, are they available, not available? If not available, what are the various problems that they are facing? These kind of information can be gotten through qualitative research. So, methods. Or to gain insights into potential causal mechanisms, or to develop sound quantitative measurement itself. For instance, to create your quantitative questionnaire itself, you have to understand the problem. To understand the problem, you may have to conduct qualitative research first. So sometimes qualitative research follows quantitative research, sometimes it precedes quantitative research. Investigating phenomena that are difficult to measure qualitatively. Complex phenomena such as organizational processes, change processes over a time, social interactions underlying specific outcomes may be difficult to measure quantitatively. Qualitative methods can be helpful in identifying and characterizing multifaceted organizational dynamics that can influence outcomes, including organizational culture, clinical leadership, and team-based interactions. For instance, a qualitative study could examine the process of implementing an innovative method or lifestyle modification in hospital with top-tier doctors, nutritionists, physiotherapists, etc. The researchers could conduct interviews across hospitals. That is the easiest way to do, and changes in organizational group and routines triggered by technology adoption. The findings could help evolve a process or theory on how collective learning of a new technology or teams influence the success of that particular technology in that setting. Similarly, generating data necessary for understanding the problem. As mentioned, in cases where quantitative data alone will not fully address the research question, qualitative processes can be of some help. A qualitative component can provide detailed perspectives of individuals or descriptions of processes, thereby ensuring a more comprehensive understanding of the phenomenon of interest. This I have already dealt with. Similarly, developing instruments for quantitative study. Qualitative methods can be useful in the development of target quantitative instruments. For example, qualitative data gathered from participants to elicit their perceptions about a treatment procedure or a diet regimen, or their interaction with the providers, including communication of the patient concerns and preferences, can be helpful in construction of a validated questionnaire, standardized questionnaire. And now let us go into qualitative data collection methods. First one that I'll deal with is content analysis. The process whereby the content of written or spoken or visual information is described and systematically analyzed is called content analysis. For instance, you want to check what is the nutrition component in medical science curricula. What you need to do is you need to take all the medical science subjects and then assess how much of the medical science curriculum is allotted to, what proportion is allotted to nutrition. And then in nutrition, what are the various aspects of nutrition that are dealt with and in what depth. So this is called content analysis. It consists of coding raw messages according to the classification scheme that allows for easy identification and indexing. There is another method called focus group studies, which are usually used. A form of group interview, this is nothing but a form of group interview. You make 5 or 6 people, ideally 6 people to 12 people in a group, and there is a moderator, just as a news show moderator who would discuss on a particular topic with various people. A focus group study also involves a moderator and a notes taker sitting together and talking to a group of people with some open-ended questions, and then questions are designed to examine people's experiences, attitudes or beliefs about certain aspects. Then there are one-to-one interviews which are called in-depth interviews. In-depth interviews are speech events. They are not like a questionnaire based quantitative interview mode administration of a questionnaire. They are little different in the sense that they are speech events and they are closer and friendly kind of conversations with a person or the subject that you are talking to. And it is a stimulus response model found in a survey research is not usually used. A stimulus response model is nothing but I ask you a question and you answer. But in qualitative research methods, you raise a topic and let the person talk on it as though it is a freewheeling, friendly conversation. And questions are open-ended, and sometimes when the discussion is not going forward, there is something called a prompt or a probe wherein you would raise a small point and ask the subject to elaborate on a particular thing. And then there are observational studies. Observational studies involve systematic and detailed observation of people and events to learn about behaviors and interactions in natural settings. Observational studies were usually used in anthropological techniques earlier to find out, for instance, if you want to find out what are the kinds of the foods that are usually used, how they are cooked in the household, you may have to stand, you may have to observe the process of procuring vegetables, procuring food items, and then using them, processing them and cooking them in a household. That you can either ask them and then copy and write it down, but if you ask them and write it down, you may not get complete information. If you tend to sit in their family along with them and then see how these processes are done, then it is called an observational study. This is useful when the study goal is to understand the cultural aspects of setting or a phenomenon when a situation of interest is hidden from the public, when those in the setting appear to have notably different views than outsiders. Extended period of interaction between researcher and the study participants in the participants' milieu is needed. The data consists of extensive detailed observational field notes that researcher collects. Notes may include verbatim or paraphrased commentary, observations of environment research, how they are interacting with their own environment, how they are interacting with the people in the house. For instance, going back to the same example of observing the cooking practices, you could see how they are procuring the various foods, to what level are they processing, and how they are cooking and how they are storing it in the house and how they are reusing. All these things, if you ask them, you may get a different view, but you observe them, you may get a clearer picture. But for that, you need to improve lot of rapport with the people, and they should feel comfortable in your presence to do things as they do in their usual setup. And then the thick description. Thick description is nothing but a rich, dense and detailed description of an experience that a social scientist gets on studying a particular phenomenon and understanding the context and developing a quantitative research instrument. This particular thick description can be of some use. Qualitative data analysis. Qualitative data analysis is a very personal process with few rigid rules and procedures. Identify the main themes. First, you have to identify the main themes. After you discuss, say in a focus group discussion or in an in-depth interview, and take down notes verbatim. As the subject speaks, you take down the notes. When you take down the notes, you will have to go through the notes first and then identify the main themes that are emerging. There are two ways in which you can identify the themes. First is, as you write down your open-ended questions which are to be discussed with the individual, you actually talk to them and then those can form your themes themselves. Or you can identify newer themes from whatever the people have put forth in terms of their views, which you could not anticipate before going in for a qualitative research technique. So the first step would be to identify the main themes. The researcher needs to carefully go through the descriptive responses given by the respondents to each question in order to understand the meaning they communicate. From these responses, the researcher develops a broader theme that reflects the meanings. People use different words and languages to express themselves. You have to be very careful about it. It is important that researcher selects wording of the theme in a way that accurately represents what the audience or what the respondent had actually meant to tell you. So these themes become the basis for analyzing the unstructured interview text or a focus group text and assigning codes to the main theme. If the researcher wants to count the number of times a theme has occurred in an interview, he or she needs to select a few responses to an open-ended question and identify the main themes. He or she then continues to identify these themes from the same question till a saturation point is reached. Write these themes and assign code to each of them using a number. This also can be used in content analysis. For instance, if you are doing content analysis, you would actually take the entire text. You will have to define, before going in for content analysis, you have to operationally define what you are looking for. Going back to the same example of understanding nutrition component in medical science curricula, you should first define what do you mean by nutrition component. For instance, you want to say the biochemistry of nutrition or the nutritional aspects and their importance in growth, development and disease reduction or prevention. Then you should define it in such a way. Whether it will include food safety aspects, whether it will include other medical related issues is what you have to clearly define. And also define inclusion exclusion criterion to categorize a particular topic as nutrition. Then with these definitions, you would analyze all the curriculum that you have and then identify the main themes that are emerging from your content analysis. Then you assign each of these content to the themes that you have already identified. Similarly, in focus group studies and in-depth interviews also, you would identify the theme first and then assign the codes according to the themes. Classify responses under the main themes. Having identified the themes, the next step is to go through the transcript carefully word by word, and then when you have asked, for instance, you may be conducting a focus group study to understand what are the problems that are actually being faced by the people that are putting them to say nutrition deficiency like iron deficiency anemia. In your qualitative research, you would have tried to find out what are the foods that they use, what are the iron-rich foods that they are not eating, if so, why they are not eating. Is it because they are not accessible? Is it because the food is very expensive? Is it because the food is not available in that particular geographical area, or whatever reason? So once you find out these reasons, when you are talking about access related to the food, people may tell you about the availability of food itself. Then you could code that particular aspect under availability. So it all depends. The response could be to any other question because it's a freewheeling discussion. The response could be to any other question, but you identify the theme and then this response can go under that particular theme. The next step would be to integrate themes and responses into the text of your report. Having identified the responses that fall within different themes, the next step is to integrate into the text of your report. While discussing the main theme that emerged from your study, some researchers use verbatim responses because the quote as it is, a quote which is reflecting the common public view, or a quote that is a quote in the sense a quotation of a respondent. Whatever the respondent has said, you have to quote it verbatim. Some people prefer to do it because it reflects the larger view, or it reflects a different view from what is usually perceived by the rest of the people in the group. So there are others who count how frequently a theme had occurred and then provide a sample of responses. It entirely depends upon the way the researcher wants to communicate the findings to the readers. Now comes validation and code reliability. Since there is a high amount of subjectivity in analysis of qualitative data, because it is your interpretation of what the audience are speaking, what the respondent is speaking, your interpretation of what you think is important from whatever has been discussed, that you are choosing and trying to put it under a theme and trying to give it to the reader to understand. Since there is a lot of subjectivity involved in qualitative data, it is always advisable that the interpretations and interfaces and inferences are checked and rechecked. So ideally what is done is 2 or 3 people who are involved in qualitative research usually read the transcripts independently, then they code it according to the themes that you have predetermined, and then see whether the coding is matching with the others. That is called the intercoder reliability. I may code the data and I may ask my co-researcher to code the data according to the themes that we have together identified earlier. If me and him or her are coding almost in a similar way, if there is a lot of reliable acceptance in the way I am coding and the way that the other person is coding, then we say the intercoder reliability is very high. If the person is coding entirely in a different way based on the codes that we have already predetermined, then there is no agreement between what I am coding and what he or she is coding, then the intercoder reliability or the inference is very low. In that case, you have to relook at the data and then try to recode and then try to reassess the entire data. Then presenting the findings. In presenting the findings, qualitative research, an explicit and well-cited description of methods and thorough detailed report of findings is needed, because a central benefit of qualitative research is to discover novel insights which are not otherwise possible through empirical data. Particular caution must be exercised to avoid telling a story that is relatively obvious or experts have already described rhetorically convincing by scientifically incomplete. So it could be rhetorically convincing, but scientifically it could be incomplete. It is also incumbent on the researchers to place the findings in the context of what is already known and to describe the specific and novel contribution that your qualitative research has done to the readers. While doing so, a thick description is nothing but thorough description of the context, the milieu, the observations, supported by the quotes or the verbatim speeches of people whom you have interviewed or with whom you have discussed or whose views you are reporting could be of great help. To conclude, you would have got an overview of what are the qualitative research methods, how they have to be analyzed and how they can be used. If you have seen nutrition research of late, there is intensive use of these methods, especially the focus group studies, in-depth interviews, content analysis, ethnography and many other social science research methods in nutrition as well as medical research. But I have just given you an overview of what are the various methods that are there, how they differ from the existing quantitative research methods and empirical data, and how these data are to be analyzed. This is little theoretical in nature, but however you would have understood and you would have seen clearly that there is a clear departure from the earlier quantitative methods that are used in nutrition research, and they have their qualitative research methods have their own way and own understanding and contribution to the field of nutrition by explaining a phenomenon that cannot be otherwise explained by the quantitative data, or to give a basis for the quantitative research tool formulation, or to triangulate or to cross check or observe or to see the authenticity of the information that you have got through quantitative research. Qualitative research techniques can be used. I am sure you would do your reading very well and then try to understand the lecture in the context of your own readings.